Hello there, my name is Valerie White Williams, and today I'm back to another celebrity astrology reading. So before I get started, make sure you subscribe and click on the bell so you get notified of all of my uploads. So my celebrity reading today is Billie Eilish. And so I'm really excited to get into her chart because it's really interesting. So Billie was born on December 18th, 2001 at 11:30 a.m. in Los Angeles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the chart with one of my teachers and how she likes to look at astrology. So I'm not going from the sun sign. I'm going to talk about it in a different way, which I really like. So hopefully you'll like it too. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take a look at the chart wheel. And the chart wheel is really interesting. She has a big stellium in Sagittarius that's right on the top of her chart. She's got a lot of planets in that fourth quadrant, because when we look at an astrology chart, we have two things that we're looking at. You know, it's a big chart wheel. We have the ascendant, descendant. So basically all of the planets above that part is more universal and more for society. It's more of a society focus. And then below, it's more personal. And then we can also have this right left, which isn't going to be hard because I'm reversed. But when you look at the chart, when you look at the right hand of the chart, that is more of the social side. And then on the left hand of the chart, that is more introverted. So she really has a lot of her planetary energy in that fourth quadrant, which is more spiritually focused, more introverted, really more working on the inside of the psychology of the world, more of a mystic placement. And then she has some big oppositions from the 10th house, 9th house down into her more personal houses. So let's get into it. So it's a very interesting chart wheel, and that's why I found it very exciting. So the very first thing I want to talk about is what my teacher Connie Kaplan calls is the Trinity. And this is kind of your foundation on why you incarnated in this life, and it's your focus in your life. And so of course we're going to start with the sun. I personally can't stand sun sign astrology and making assumptions on the sun sign because it's like looking at people and making a decision on their shoes and what kind of person they are. Yeah, it's that. So the sun sign for her is in Sagittarius. Like I said, she has a huge stellium in Sagittarius. And of course, the sun is right there. And her sun is smack in the 10th house, right next to her midheaven. And we're going to talk a bit more about the midheaven. But basically, that means that her soul expression, her hero's journey, is to go forward and be a light, which is kind of like a lighthouse. When you have your sun right at that midheaven, there's a lighthouse to your soul. Whether you are introverted or not, people are going to see you, they're going to know you, they're going to recognize you, and you can't hide it. You cannot hide it. I also have my sun connected to my midheaven, but it's in the 9th house. So I get it. I get it. You can't hide. So her sun is right up there in the 10th house. And the 10th house is the house that I like to call the house of the legacy. Traditional astrologers call that the career house, but not everybody has a career. It's really about the legacy that you're sharing with the world, or you're being seen. And, you know, you could be, a stay-at-home mom and still have a legacy, but she has a big legacy. She has a lot to say. Now, she is a Sagittarius sun sign. She's got a lot of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is mutable fire. So they have a lot of energy. I like to think of Sagittarius as the preacher energy, kind of like John the Baptist. It says, hey, we got to fix things. We got to do something. We got to change this. And so she's got a lot of fiery energy that's very passionate and very magnetic. And that's the Sagittarius energy. And it's right up there, very top of the chart. And she has that in actually 26 degrees, 57 minutes. And so my teacher, Connie Kaplan, is really big on the degrees. She got this download from the angels when her dad was 6, big, huge story. But for her, she basically has it in 27 degrees. It's going to round it up to 27 degrees. And with Connie's system, it's a degree of peace. It is more of a cosmic principle. And so people that are contracted with that peace, not like they're like all peace loving, but they understand the seeing all things, like accepting, maybe not accepting, but seeing how what we see is good and bad comes together, and there's different parts of that in a very cosmic way. So she's got a lot of spiritual qualities in this chart, and that's where I think her art comes from. And so she's got that mission to share her passion with others, and it's huge. So that is the sun sign. So now I'm going to go, and again, the sun sign is something that you're going toward. You're striving to it. It doesn't maybe come easy because you're growing into your sun sign your whole life. Now the moon sign, we're going to do that next. The moon sign is more reflective. There's a reflective quality there. It comes easy to you. And it's also how you nurture yourself. If you're having a bad day, you're going to look into your moon sign and the qualities and the placement, because I think the placement is more important at all than sun sign. It's showing you where your life is focused at. So her moon is in, make sure this is right. Yeah, her moon is in the 12th house, just barely. And the 12th house is that house of the mystic. Now, the 12th house gets a real bad rap in pop psychology or pop astrology. It's like, oh, we have hidden enemies. Oh my gosh, I'm wounded. I'm bad. No, I don't look at it that way. The 12th house is the house of the mystic, because the 12th house correlates to Pisces, where we're going back to the one. We're going back to the oneness. And so people that have 12th house planets are natural mystics and natural psychics, especially moon in the 12th house, because the moon is reflective. And a lot of people that have moon in the 12th house might kind of be scared of what sometimes they see. They might see, natural mediums. They might see dead people that come to them, or spirits that come to them, or they get downloads they don't understand. And so there's a lot of imagination and mysticism that shows up to people that have that 12th house moon. Now her moon is in Aquarius, and that is she has multiple signs in Aquarius as well. Now Aquarius is fixed air, and Aquarius comes to be this grand idea of how we should live. Because fixed air is about connecting people and philosophy and coming Aquarian age. And so I don't know her, but I assume that she gets these visions and she gets these downloads, and she might, because it's Aquarius, that she gets this idea of this is what needs to happen. And she's young and she's growing into her chart, as we all do. But there's a lot of wisdom and mysticism in that position. And the degree is 12 degrees. And 12 degrees in Connie's system is creativity. And the definition of the creativity is putting two different things together. I mean, that's a really great definition of creativity, because people think, oh, I'm not creative. But it's putting things together that you don't think go together. And obviously her art is very creative, and it stems a lot from what's going on in her 12th house, for sure. And that maybe comforts her. She might really be interested in meditation or quiet time, because people who have a lot of 12th house planets, 12th 12th house planets need time alone to think and to meditate and to dream and to create. So it's a very creative placement, but there's a little bit of that wisdom, that wise child in that moon sign. All right, so now we're going to go to the midheaven. And the midheaven is you're going back to God. And it's basically what you're here to do, to share. It's like your legacy that you're sharing with the world. And it also is part of your soul group. Your soul group is kind of connected to that midheaven. And her midheaven is again in Sagittarius. There's a lot of Sagittarius in her chart, and it's at 22 degrees. Again, we got a Sagittarius fire, we got to change the world, we got to repent, we got to change this. We got to change this. And 22 degrees is dreaming. So people that have 22 degrees in their astrology chart they dream things, they see things. Again, this is another mystical principle that she shares, and that she probably has really vivid dreams. And maybe some of her dreams come to life in the real world. So there's this kind of like this doorway that shows up when she's aware of it. But maybe she, a lot of her things are, her art is mystical and has, some scary things, but you can see that dreaming Sagittarius, we're going to dream the world, because that's how everything, we have a dream first and then we manifest it. And that dreaming is a real gift. And again, it may take time to grow into it, because when you have as much mystical properties as she does, it takes time to feel comfortable with it, because you go, I'm just maybe not like everybody else. Everybody else is doing all this random stuff, but I'm having all these mystical experiences, which is great because she's learned how to channel that. A lot of people struggle, but yeah, she can channel that. So that's what we call the Trinity. That is your core reason for being here, is to sharing your sun sign with the talents of your moon sign and being aligned to what you're sharing, which is that beautiful dream, which is what art can do. Totally art. So now we're going to go into what she calls the personal pillars, which is really our personal planets. And the personal planets really are reflecting our personality, because the Trinity is kind of, this is what I'm here to do. But then we have the personality. So we're going to start the way she sees it, looking at Mars. And Mars is the physical principle. It's your power. You're going to take charge, and how your physical body is. And again, she has Mars in the 12th house. Now, the Mars is in Pisces, which is interesting because Mars is that active force, physical, and her Mars is in the 12th house, which is also, in the sea, which it feels like it's in that oneness. And it's also in Pisces, so she's doubly contracted with that Pisces oneness of the sea, which means she can pull in all these things from the sea. Again, it's another mystical placement. And what's interesting, it's Mars. Now, I'll be honest, my Mars is also in the 12th house. So I also have the Mars. Now, people that have Mars in the 12th house, they feel things in their body. They feel the vibes. And that's something that I've had to work on too, is when I go into a room, or when I was auditioning a lot for opera, I couldn't turn off the vibes in the room. And it was hard for me. When I was performing, yes, then I can tune in, and that worked. But if there's vibes in the room, it made my body uncomfortable. And so it is for her. Now, I had Virgo in my 12th house moon, which is a different kind of energy than Pisces. Pisces it's just it's just kind of lost in the void. And so feeling those feelings can be, you need feel like you need to be protected. You need to be in a place that's comfortable. And the body is relating to Pisces. Now, Pisces is mutable water and it's very creative. So that creativity is very powerful. And then that sensitivity, which you can see even when she sings, she closes her eyes a lot and just tunes in to all these mystic pictures and feelings. And it needs alone time. In fact, people who have Mars in the 12th house like to work alone. I know that's me too. It's like in the middle of the night, I'm going to do some work. Maybe not the middle of the night, but you need to be alone and have some time to pull in these visions and feelings and psychic things that are swimming around. And she's, I don't know her personal life, but she seems to have managed a way to take all this mysticism and put it into a productive project, which is exactly songwriting and performing. Yeah, so that's the Mars principle. Yeah, it's kind of like you're swimming in the ocean, and it can be feeling like you can't feel the difference between I'm me and you. And that's something that as you grow, you start getting a little bit, it's easier, but it still can be hard when you're in a big crowd and you can feel everybody's energy. It's tough, but there are ways you can learn to manage it. All right, so next we are going to Venus. And Venus is like the emotional body. So Mars is the physical body and your kind of your energy. And then Venus is your emotional body, how you relate to people, how you have emotions. And her emotional body in Venus is again in Sagittarius. Lots of Sagittarius. And the Sagittarius is in, let's see. Oh, I forgot. Shoot. I'm going to go back. I forgot to talk about Mars at 7 degrees because that's really important. So we did talk about the Pisces, or so much the Mars in that 12th house, but 7 degrees, her Mars is in 7 degrees, represents what we call generosity and has a big affinity for the animals. It's actually the animals, and they're not the animals, but the animal divas, the energy that is behind the animals in the mystical sense, and understanding how animals are so loving and caring and sharing. So that sense that she really loves animals, and the animals can give her some comfort in that 12th house. And it's probably something that helps ground her with those animals. So now we're going to go back to the Venus. So sorry for the interlude. So Venus is in a completely different place. It is in her 9th house. And the 9th house is the house of higher education and traveling and kind of anything teachery things, of learning the wisdom of the world versus school, reading and writing. But, learning about law and people around the world and religions and philosophy and things like that is what the 9th house is about. And her Venus is 20 degrees, and 20 degrees is related to gratitude and being really, being thankful for the wonders of things and having those experiences. So it looks to me with Sagittarius, which is mutable fire, she has a fire to learn and grow. And it looks like she probably would really love to read a lot of books, maybe about mysticism or things that are fascinating to her, languages, cultures, how people think, how people believe, religions of the world, meditation, Buddhism, those kinds of things, and feeling really excited that she can learn and bring that in. Gives her a lot of strength, a lot of gratitude, like, yes, this is helping me kind of anchor all that spiritual energy into learning. and loving it. And I know that she grew up as a homeschooler, and I think that was a really wise choice for her family because this is a sensitive person and a very gifted person. And being homeschooled really gave her that foundation, that safety to, reach out for things that she might not have learned if she was in the traditional school, or kind of, I want to use the word protected because that can be misinterpreted as being like overprotected, but with this kind of what I see in her chart, being homeschooled was the good choice. So she could develop all of those talents and turn it into something that's really beautiful to share with that shining sun on the top of the chart versus feeling like I'm just a person. Well, a lot of us can feel that way, but I feel like that was really a great choice. And so that Venus principle, now Venus is another place where you actually find friends, or you find relationships with significant others. So it looks like, her friends would be also other people that are really interested in learning about what we call, higher education and learning about cultures and mysticism in the world. And it's just, that's where her friends are going to be in her support group. So, all right. And so now we're going to move to Mercury, and Mercury is your mental body, so we have our physical body, we have our emotional body, mental body, how we like to think, our thinking process and how we communicate. And her Mercury is, let me look, it is in also the 10th house. So she's in the 10th house, and it is also in Capricorn. So it's barely in Capricorn, and it's in 4 degrees in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn's a totally different energy than the Sagittarius and the Pisces. Capricorn is cardinal Earth. Now, the cardinal Earth, Capricorns, they're the mountain climbers. They're the ones that are going to make it no matter what, because cardinal means taking action. So this is also very helpful for her because, there's a lot of mysticism here, and there's a lot of Sagittarius fire, and it's not always very grounded. But that Capricorn is driving. It doesn't waver. It keeps making steps every day to build what they want to do. And again, it's Mercury. So her mental mind is very clear, which is awesome because she's got all this mysticism, all this other love of learning, but her mind is really practical because that's what Capricorns are. They're very practical. And so having that Capricorn in that 10th house means that she will take steady steps towards her goal. And her mind has that sense of logic as well, which is really a great thing with all this mysticism, because sometimes when you're in that mystical world and artistic world, it's hard to straighten it out and figure out what's going on. And so the Capricorn energy really helps her focus. And she's gone really far as a young person. And so that focus is really helping her go towards her dreams and what she wants to do. All right, and let's see, let me check. So it's 4 degrees, and 4 degrees in Connie's system is actually affinity with the stones, and it also associated with the throat. So the stones hold these records and energies, and the throat also creates this beautiful voice. It has a connection with the voice, but it's still stable. In fact, that 4 degrees gives her even more stability because those stones are solid. They're there. They're physical. They get a grounding, and they're beautiful. So it's like a beautiful crystal that is structured as Mountain Goat climbs to the goals of the mental. Yeah. So I don't know if she has studied, mystical religions and religions of the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that she looks into at this point. Okay, and then the last personal pillar of the personality is, of course, the ascendant. And that ascendant is kind of like your facade, and maybe that's not the best word. It's not like your facade because it's you. It's your container. It's your container and it's your ethical foundation. And that ascendant basically sets in line the entire astrology wheel. So her ascendant is in Pisces, and her ascendant is at 17 degrees Pisces. So Pisces, again, is that mutable water, and it's very mystical. So she comes across as maybe dreamy and, very creative. But as we're talking, you can tell that's kind of her ethical foundation, how she comes across. But like I said, with that Mercury and Capricorn, that's business, baby. Totally different. So she has that strong mindset to make something. But again, that's why we can't generalize an astrology chart, especially on a sun sign or rising sign. There's too many pieces of the puzzle. So she does appear kind of mystical Pisces, likes kind of the supernatural and things like that. But that's kind of how she comes across. And again, the degree is, where is it? 17 degrees. Now, 17 degrees, this is interesting, is a degree of attraction. And it's about being attracted to people that are different, but they give you something new. So people that have on the ascendant, like she does, attraction, she's kind of has this extra karma that attracts people to her to help her with her goals. And that's what she's chosen. So, again, she had success very young in life. And so she had that kind of, I want to say, good karma that brought people to her so she can go forward with her life agenda or her goals, which is really interesting because, not everybody has success at that young age. But again, she was able to attract people, which is not even because it's attracting, not pushing, it's attracting. So and it's Pisces. So she's a very attractive Pisces. And I don't mean physically attracting, but like a magnet. You're magnetizing people to you to help you get to where you want to go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the universal, the more outer planets. And the outer planets really aren't as influential on the personality, but I like to think of them as little guiding stars or fairy godmothers that are kind of cheering you on and helping you. And I'm going to use, again, Connie's system of kind of like the birth journey, because I really like that. It's like you're growing into your birth and what happens when you're being born. So we're going to start with Neptune. Now with Neptune is the mystical side to us, like understanding the sea. It does have correlations to Pisces and also that 12th house. And with Neptune, what Connie would say is that, or what she's learned is that we have this birth group. So when we are in the womb, all the babies that are born on the degree have a birth group, and they are working together psychically and spiritually to make change in our world. And her Neptune is in 7 degrees, which is also like her Mars at 7 degrees, the animal divas. So it's another connection to animals. Now, I did do some research, just a bit, when I was going to research to do this, and I just put in animals and Billie Eilish, and I found out that she's a huge animal lover, which really validated me, because exactly this is, the animals mean a lot to her and she relates to them. And so with Neptune, she has this birth group of people that are really interested in the generosity and the spirit of the animals and the giving to make change in our world, and they're holding that energy. It's not like they're talking to each other in a physical way, but there is this birth group all over the world. People that have 7 degrees Neptune have this connection, have that connection to the animal divas and the understanding of the generosity of how animals are so giving. And her Neptune is in, I know it's right on the border there. Dum, dum, dum. Yeah, looks like her Neptune is just barely in the 11th house. And the 11th house is the house, it's kind of this weird house. People think of it's about friends or, communities and having fun, but the 11th house is really about understanding that we are all one. And that includes all the animals and all the stones and all the beings of the world. So with the 12th house, it's like we all are one. We're all kind of merged one. The 11th house is one step back from that. In this, we are all one, but we are here on planet Earth and everything is sacred. It's kind of like the indigenous view, is that we have the Great Spirit, but we have the spirit of the plants and the spirits of the trees and the spirits of the wind and the spirits of the animals. And so people in the 11th house really resonate to being with nature and understanding, ecological issues that are going on the earth and really taking care of the earth and being there. And so that Neptune, that spiritual energy, is feeling that energy of the planet and caring for it and being there for it. And so that Neptune there is, again, it's another kind of a mystical place, very close to the 12th house, but feeling the spiritual energy of everything on earth, especially the animals. And yeah, so that's that birth group. So next we're going to talk about Saturn. Now Saturn is the Time Lord, because true in real reality, there is no time and space, but we're living in this Time Lord world now. Yeah, really. Because there is no time, but we are experiencing time. And so when you're getting ready to be born, you have to wait to get out. And for her, the Saturn is in 10 degrees Gemini. Very different. And it's also on the opposite place on her chart, which is in the 3rd house. And again, that's more the personal place, because she's really contracted with, really helping people, because that's what's going on up there in that 4th quadrant, is really sharing all this mystical energy there. But the Saturn is more personal for her. Now, Saturn tends to be thought of as discipline. And usually when we have Saturn in our house and our chart, it's like we can't have it. It's like you have to move forward. You need to build it. It's like, I want it really bad, but how am I going to get there? And how am I going to build to that? And so there's kind of like a sore spot almost with Saturn, and you have to kind of make friends of it, because you need to create discipline that is from your own being to create that what you want. And that's Saturn, and that's in the 3rd house. Now the 3rd house is the house of, communication and your own personal identity, because that's really what's going on in the 3rd house. It's really about speaking out and having an opinion and being clear about what you want to say and your personal identity and how you look and feel. I mean, maybe not look, but your style and how you communicate and what you want to say. So for her, it's in Gemini, and Gemini is super nerdy. It's mutable air, very, very talkative, which means it looks like that she might be shy. There's a shyness there, because Saturn kind of locks you down there. You're like, I don't know if I can have this. I don't know if I can really speak what I want to say. And then you go into the Saturn returns that usually happen at 28 and then 57, 6 or whatever. And then you're like, okay, I came here for this. It's kind of like you have to work towards it. And so with Gemini there, it feels like she could feel blocked about speaking her own personal reality because she does a lot of songwriting and it's more of an artistic expression, but to really speak her mind might be a little hard. She might be a little shy, but that's where she's going to grow and build. That's kind of where she wants it. So I wouldn't be surprised as she grows and gets into that Saturn return at 28. She might start thinking about doing more public speaking or maybe writing, because the third house is also about writing a book, about memoirs, or talking about things and analyzing things and talking and feeling I can talk to audiences without closing my eyes and singing, or I can write. So that's kind of a little quandary because she's so much in the bigger world, but now they're at very bottom of the chart of being who she is and expressing my ideas, my thoughts, who I am. And that could be a little bit hard for her. And what I see is just that shyness. I'm shy. I don't want to say anything. But she'll break through it. She will, because that's what Saturn does. It teaches you how to grow and to build into those things that you really, really want, but you think you can't have it. All right, so now we're going to talk about Pluto. So Pluto is where we have our death and rebirth transformations, and I'm not talking about real death, but when we have to change, we're depressed and we have to grow up, we got to get out of ourself. And it's kind of like the hero's journey, or you're like at a crisis point and how you get through that. And so that's Pluto, because that, corresponds to the birth journey. Is like, I got to get out of here. And it's got to get out. And so her Pluto, oh, I forgot. Her Saturn, I'm going to go back to Saturn. I forgot about the 10 degrees. 10 degrees represents reciprocity, which really talks about breathing and kind of the yin yang of things. And again, there's this, a wisdom there of, giving and receiving in her Saturn. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. So sometimes I had to backtrack. And so again, letting herself have that giving and taking in her communication and her writing is exactly what she's going to be building here soon. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Pluto, and Pluto is up again in the 9th house, the house of learning about other cultures and philosophy and religions and languages and all of that stuff. So kind of close to Venus, and the Pluto is 15 degrees, and again in Sagittarius. Tons of Sagittarius in her chart. And it basically covers the 9th house and it goes all the way into the 10th house. So Pluto there means that she loves learning. And sometimes the way she's going to get through something is to dive deep into some studies that really make her feel focus on this studies. And again, let's look at the sign Sagittarius, I call it the preacher energy. I'm going to dive in and deeply dig into this book that is giving me information and it's helping me learn. And you're going to go into that learning in that house. Now, the 9th house also represents higher education, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to go to college and learn or study. I mean, you can study on your own. I mean, today of all places, you can get so much learning all over the internet. You can learn anything. You can learn and study. But diving deep into languages or cultures will give her that sense of, okay, I'm getting out of myself and I'm going to learn some things. And that's going to kind of bring me out of, it's just all about me, because I'm going to learn more about, we're all in this together, right? And there is this theme of that, is that she is very connected to, the worldview and changing things. She's very much, a millennial for sure that has these goals to change the world, We can see that all over. And the degree is 15 degrees. Now, 15 degrees is an interesting one because it's what we call resistance. Now, the resistance isn't like she's just stubborn, but basically people that have resistance, 15 degrees, it's the middle of the 0 degrees to the 30 degrees, is that you're just an energy generator. And so basically it's allowing energy to be transformed with you. And so as she learns and she studies and she lives in this 9th house energy of all the world's people, she transforms herself as an energy generator to share. Because the thing about the 9th house is that not only are you learning, but it's also the house of the teacher. And Sagittarius is also a teacher. There's a lot of Sagittarian components to the 9th house. And so digging into learning something that gives her inspiration is going to bring her out, and it's going to energize her and other people around her. Pretty powerful. I mean, she's just getting started. This is very, very powerful. And then the birth journey, boom, you come out of the womb, and that corresponds to Uranus. Because Uranus is something like, boom, sudden inspiration, boom, you get this enlightenment. It's not living with us all the time, but it's like a lightning strike, and you go, whoa, I get it. Here I am. Or I have a new point of view, and it's like this lightning strike, you get a new sense. So her Uranus is in Aquarius, another Aquarian placement, and her Uranus is in the 12th house. And the 12th house, again, we talked about that mystical principle of being in the oneness. Now, her 12th house has both Aquarius and Pisces, because her Pisces was kind of, 17 degrees. So it's not, it doesn't, kind of cuts it in half. And so again, that is a very mystical placement with the Aquarian energy giving her this lightning bolt of this is how things should be. This is the way the world should be. And I'm not saying it's like from her ego, but just get these visions of this is where the world's going to go. And then it just goes away because that's Uranus. It comes quickly and you get this, oh, I get it. It's almost like a sense of enlightenment. And then you're like, okay, how can I share this? How can I do this? Yeah, and her Uranus is in 21 degrees. Now, here's the interesting thing about 21 degrees. It's harmony, but it's really about integrating the dark with the light, which has really been a theme in a lot of her art and her music, is that there's this darkness and there's this light, and how do we interplay between it? And it has a lot to do like music and chord structure, which I'm not going to get into because it's too much, but that's kind of how she has a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of mysticism in this chart, a lot of it. And what's great to see is that she's channeling it in a way that is getting it out and out in the world. Now that Capricorn Mercury is huge. So that Uranus is really powerful, and she gets these downloads. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Thank you. I get it. Yeah. So that's really interesting. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is Jupiter. And Jupiter is like looking over. It's kind of like the fairy godmother and giving you this benevolence and luck. It's like, boom, I'm looking over you and you've done well. This is what's going to come easy. Because where Jupiter is in your chart is where things are just going to be there for you, and it's kind of like, again, the fairy godmother watching over you and making sure you're getting what you need in that part of your chart. And so for her fairy godmother Jupiter principle is in Cancer in the 4th house. Now that's another very personal house. The 4th house is the house of the home. traditionally the house of the mother. But I think that the home life is really what we're talking about, and shows that and it's Cancer. Cancer is the mothering sign, because Cancer is cardinal water, and Cancer takes action to create a safe nest for her family. So it looks like she really had a very quality upbringing. She loves being in her home. She's really close to her family, and her home life was really nurturing and really gave her what she needed. And it's not only your childhood home, but your home, your whole life is really having that place that is welcoming and feels good in your world. And yeah, and it's interesting, and it is a huge opposition up there, because I think that her home life is really important to relax with the people that love her and are there for her and feeling comfortable. And Cancer is also related to good, taking care of yourself and nurturing and feeling at home in the world, because that's what the fourth house is. And again, the Cancer energy plus the fourth house, that means it's a very nurturing environment, and that makes her feel really comfortable so she can move forward in her world. And that degree is, let me look again, is 12 degrees, which is another repeat. It's creative. It's a creative energy. So not only did she have that really great nurturing environment to grow up with, it was very creative. I know her brother has been a huge, person in her life that's helped her go forward, but a lot of creativity in that house, and a lot of creativity in a very nurturing environment, which is great for her. And so that is that chart. So I'm going to talk about a couple more things in the chart, which are not planets, but things that are interesting. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the nodes, the moon's nodes. And this is kind of interesting in her chart. So where the north node is where we are supposed to be focusing on. And where the south node is where we've been. And so in the soul's journey, we want to be focused on the north node. Now, what happened, the south node comes easy. It comes easy and it flows, but it's maybe not always very comfortable because we've already done it. Like, yeah, I've done this, but I need to actually go and do that because it's on this axis. Now, what's interesting about her is her north node is in the fourth house. And her south node is really up on the top of the chart where her sun and midheaven are, which says that, if you talk about past lives or something, that she's done this before. She has come before to be standing out as a celebrity or creative person, but she really wants to have that home life. Now that might be something like she really loves having a career, but she drives to maybe have a family or have this nurturing home life. So this is this balancing point. It'll be interesting to see what happens as she gets older, because it looks like she's going to there is this opposition where she does have this career and it's going great and she's just super visionary, but that home life calls to her. And that could be in the future, she's going to really, really want to have a family, or maybe she won't have a family, but having that nurturing home is comforting to her soul. So it's kind of this balance that it's going to be interesting to see. And the nodes, because the nodes are on an axis, her north node is in 27 degrees Gemini, which is interesting. So she might just need to spend some time alone to focus in this nurturing environment. And again, 27 degrees is that peace, and it almost seems like there's perhaps someday she might have some politics. I don't know. I mean, she's young. This is probably the youngest person I've done a chart, because it's easier to do it with older people because they've lived longer. But it's going to be interesting to see because that North Node is right down there on the bottom of the chart. But that actually gives her some grounding because she's so mystical and she's so talented, and there's so much going on in the 10th house and the 12th house, that having that solid, grounded home life is going to keep her grounded so she can be focused there, which is interesting. And then that peace, which is being involved with understanding the dark and the light, and accessing that, which is really cosmic, so I'm not going to get too much more into that. And then the very last one, thank you for staying here this whole time, is what we call Chiron. Now, Chiron is an asteroid, and there are tons of asteroids. We're finding them all the time, but there's so many, but I can't talk of all of them. But I really personally do like Chiron because Chiron is the wounded healer. And it's like where you feel like you can't have it and you can't do it. And then you learn to do it. You get over yourself, and then you want to help others. And her Chiron is also right up there in the 10th house. So it looks like that she might have felt like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it. But then she does do it, and then she can help others to copy what she has, or not copy, but be a model of how you can be creative. I mean, I think she's got a great chart to show, okay, I'm a real creative person, and I'm shy. I want to be grounded at home, but I'm still going to share my vision. I'm going to share my talents. And her Chiron is in Capricorn again. So it's another Capricorn placement. And she's at 0 degrees. Now, 0 degrees is what we call placement. You have that standing energy. You chose to place your feet on the ground. It's another really grounded placement for her, because it basically says, you know what? I don't maybe know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because that 0 degrees is strong, and it's planted on the ground in that 10th house. And again, it gives her that structure, because Capricorn is baby steps to the goal. And that's where she's done. Yeah. So interesting person. Like I said, while I was doing this reading, I realized that she's the youngest person I've done a reading for. But it's really interesting to see what she's going to do, how that works. So thank you so much for being with me in this great journey. And I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts. As you know, like, I haven't really studied her that much except for the animals. And I like to do that because I want to look at what the planets say and go from there. So let me know any other information about her. If you know it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. And yes, and let me know what other astrology reading I should do. I know I just had to pick one, and this one really called to me. It was really interesting to see. And to be honest, when I first heard her, I'm not a real horror fan, so I really didn't really like some of her music because of that. But as she continues to go, I understand that a lot of people like the horror, and it's not for me, but I'm kind of warming up to her, especially her latest album. And she's young. She's got a long ways to go. So it was really fun to see and understand her a bit more. So make sure you know that I also have this group called Creative Soul Alignment, and it's a Facebook group where we talk about all kinds of things, spirituality, creativity, and that's her. She's creative and spiritual for sure. And love to have more people in that group. So you can find all the information below in the description, and make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.